And welcome to another live stream of Dots and Lines. It's Grayson right here, and I'm ready to talk about something we got a little bit of time in for our last episode of Dots and Lines. Um, it's time to bring this bad boy back out. I was excited for this book, and so was everyone else. The New History of the DC Universe Dakota Incident. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about. And I really didn't want to yap for, I could have gone on for like an hour in regards to this book, between the actual quality of the book, what happened in the book, what it means for the characters in the book, and everything else surrounding it. So let's just get straight into it. First off, the book was great. Book was great. The art was great. There were several different artists and writers that came together for this. I want to shout them out real quick. We've got Joseph Illich, of course. We've got, for the second act, we've got Stephanie Williams, who has been doing great work for a long time. We got Morgan Hampton, who has been kicking ass and taking names. And we've got several artists, Valentine de Leandre. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Then we got Carlo. I feel like I'm going to say a lot of these names wrong. I'm sorry, I'm not going to butcher that name. Then we got Stephen Segovia. For art for Act 3, we've got FICO Osio. For the prelude and the epilogue, we've got Nicholas Draper Ivey, who has been doing static for a while. We're all familiar with that name. I have a couple pieces signed by him. Cool guy, Jersey boy, gotta love him. Edwin Gallman as the artist for those. And story consultation by Mark Waid, who is a real one. First off, a comic book legend. Second off, has been pushing for diversity in comics for a long time. No joke. No joke. Gotta show love to him. The book was great. The book was great. It looked good. It felt good. It was an easy read. Like, I've been buying these DC cultural comics, the Black History Month comics, for a while, and they always lead to nowhere, which is a little sad, because there's like good concepts in here, like the power company stuff, and the all black team, I think from last year, that had Superman from Earth 2, Val Zod, and Nubia, so on and so forth. They're cool issues, and they don't go anywhere, either because we don't buy enough of them, which is, I think, usually the case, or there doesn't seem to be enough interest for the books after, which is something we got to work on. Now, the following opinions I'm about to share are mine and mine alone. Clearly, I don't have anyone else here from Dots and Lines to talk about this, and I don't feel like dragging them into this. There is a big to-do about what's going on in regards to there not being a black lead in Marvel or DC mainline. For DC, about 3 years now. For Marvel, a year and some change, if I remember correctly. I'm not really tripping too much off that. Now, I'm going to give you why I'm not, and I'm going to, after really thinking about it and looking around, kind of share why I think, maybe it's kind of important we do see that. One, I'm reading Absolute. And, Joe Mullen is Green Lantern in that, and I'm reading that and not the current mainline Green Lantern stuff, okay? I mean, I get my fix of black people in leads. Unfortunately, Ultimate Black Panther was great. I loved it, and it just ended. But Storm is kicking ass with Marewa Awadele doing his thing, as he's been for the past year and some change. I will say it is a little odd that there are so many characters in the Next Level line for DC that kind of no one asked for, but I'm excited for, because I think they're going to be great. Scott Snyder threw it out there to people like, hey, we want people to write what they want to write, and a lot of people got to write, what they want to write. We have a Firestorm book coming. Cool. I'm down for that. We got a Barbara Gordon jailbreak story coming. All right, cool. I wasn't even thinking about that, but that sounds like a great idea. Um, to have none of those be black, you know, it is a little odd, but as a person who buys these books and gets them off the stands, we got to do a better job of buying these books. All right. Listen, I pre-ordered and bought the Black Lightning series. Wasn't my funnest time reading a book, but I also pre-ordered and really enjoyed the most recent Jon Stewart run by Philip Kennedy Johnson. I loved it so much. I actually got it signed when I seen him at MegaCon, and what a damn good book. I wish that continued somewhere else, but at the end of the day, these are businesses, right? They got to go where the money is. If they throw money into something and nothing comes out or minimal comes out, they're going to invest their money somewhere else, especially in a day and age where DC's pendulum has swung. You know what I mean? We've got, everyone knows this Absolute Batman is selling like gangbusters. I was talking about the Absolute line earlier. They're about to reprint all of their issue ones, which is kind of unheard of for any modern line in DC. Like, they have other things they can put their attention to that's going to feed back to the company. And in a world where DC, who is under Warner Brothers, is being sold left and right, that's important to, have proof of an actual customer base. You know what I mean? I don't know. So I said all that to say we need to buy the books. If we don't buy the books, then a company will see, oh, maybe there's not that much interest in it, and just move on. I'm gonna keep it to me. I pre-ordered all the Milestone stuff. I even got Duo, okay, which was cool. Shout out to Greg Pak. I was really excited when they started releasing Hardware versus Icon. I thought it was just fine. I even liked what they had teased in the future in regards to the Brainiac stuff. I was in it, I enjoyed pretty much everything I was reading, Blood Syndicate and all. But apparently I was like the only one, because those books, with the exception of Static getting a season 2 and breaking, I think, top 12 in comic book sales, which is a big deal, everything else just didn't do well enough. I love these stories. I love Milestone. I mean, these characters need to be seen. We need to see an Icon. We need to see a Rocket. We need to see a Static. I'll be honest, we need to see Hardware. I love Hardware. Hardware is my dog. All right. Every chance I do get to read these characters, it fills me with a little bit of pride. And I can see that it's not just empty superheroing. There is almost always a more poignant message behind these characters that should resonate with everyone, but especially people that look like me and my son and my daughter, right? I gotta say, they also did really good with the art. A lot of times when we get these books, like Us, the art be kind of janky. And no disrespect to the artists that touch this stuff. No disrespect, but it feels like they save some of the more premier artists and the more premier art for other books. Maybe they think we're too much of a risk. I don't know. That's another conversation. But there was 3 to 4 different art changes in here, and man, they were good. Man, they were good. I mean, look at Beacon here. What are we doing? Look at Beacon in all his glory, running around. Quick synopsis of the story. Beacon is fighting somebody, gets hurled into the timeline. Basically, he's watching as a non-playable character for a little bit as we find out why everything went left and there hasn't been Static active in the DC universe for God knows how long. Hardware, unfortunately, gets framed for the murder of Edwin Alva. which gives the government an excuse to come in and wreck shop. Edwin Alva had some deals with the government. He was going to give them all the information in regards to what happened with the bang babies and the Q juice. It was basically he was going to use black people as an experiment to make metahumans. And we know if the US government is going to do one thing, it's use experiments to make weapons. And boy howdy, that's what they were finna do. So the heroes of Milestone, like I said before, hardware, rocket, icon, static, they basically have to fight the government. And, you know, they're the first and last line of defense against what the US government's going to do to get what they deem as their assets. Cool, cool. Fighting is cool. Everything's dope. And it really, here's the poignant part about it to me. Well, two poignant parts. One of them being, yo, the fighting only stopped when like Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman came through and said, yo, chill. And they were like fighting the same fight. You know what I mean? The people, the heroes of Dakota City are just trying to protect their people. And the government felt like they were just going to bear down, like burn down the whole house. Like, no, we want our stuff and you can't stop us. Until they popped up. And then President Lex, by the way, Lex Luthor was president this time, was like, okay, let's cut a deal. We'll let the niggas live. Which is cool. I loved it. I love that. Lex is a despicable human being. He's foul and he's ruthless. And until he saw the big boy in blue, he wasn't going to relent. Things get this, like I said before, 2 points of this comic really resonated with me. Second point was Lex basically threatening Static, Rocket, all of them. Hey, I know where you live. I know where you stay. We will use that against you if you don't get out of our way. We'll leave you alone, but you basically can't be a superhero anymore. And that scares the hell out of Static, who is, don't forget, a literal teenager at this point in time. He's just a kid. He's a kid. He thought he was trying to save the city, and they blackmail him and basically tell Virgil, we know where you live, we know where your daddy stay. We did all this to your town. What do you think we can do to your house? And Virgil backs off. But with that happening, it looks like there's been a distortion in the timeline because Beacon finally pops up after he's conceived because Rocket is his mom. And he has to have a talk with Virgil, but like, bro, you were the spark. We need you. If you can't do what you do to help us, like the world will not be the same. We will all suffer. All right. And of course, it's a great metaphor for Static needs to come back and be an inspiration to kids of all kinds. Really powerful stuff. Really well written. And the fact that it was 4 people essentially who wrote this one comic and it was so cohesive really shows how much that this team just gave a shit. Just gave a shit. Like really wanted to see the best in us be represented. And I gotta love that. And so did a whole bunch of other people because it looks like the book sold out goddamn everywhere. All right. I had mine pre-ordered. I had my comic book shop, clearly put in my pull box. But a lot of people didn't. A lot of people popped in because of this giant storm of everything going on between the 2 big creators talking smack to each other in regards to Milestone, it being the last week of Black History Month, DC actively having no black leads in mainline, and Joseph Village, cutting that promo online, basically saying like, we need you to buy this book. It spurred a whole bunch of people to come into action. And bare minimum, I don't know, it's anecdotal as far as like, yo, I can't find a book here. Yo, I can't find a book there. I don't know if it's sold out at the distributor level, but I haven't seen a shop, and I live around more than a couple comic book shops, where there's a issue left. No variant, not near nothing, which is great. We need to show people we like this stuff. And supporting quality stuff, and having quality stuff on the shelves that represents us, that's going to be the best mover of the needle, not just being online pissing and moaning about us not having leads. The most important thing to me is the fact that we could actually get the ball rolling though, right? So now that there is some, not just some interest, but like a lot of interest, because this doesn't usually happen. People talk on the internet a lot and then nothing happens after. There was actual dollars in action being taken. If we can channel that, because I don't expect everyone to buy every issue of every possible Milestone comic for the next like 20 years straight. No. But if we can put up half of that effort, like people who talk online actually support a good Black book or a book with a Black lead, maybe we'll get more than one in one period of time. You know what I mean? It's a possibility we can actually have Milestone exist as more than just a niche, have it be like a cornerstone of the universe. You know, I remember when we first saw the design of Absolute Batman, a lot of people shit on it. A lot of people made jokes. A lot of people thought the bat's too fat, he's too big, why are his ears so long, blah, blah, blah. And it was a damn good book and it was transformative, and now people can't fucking stop talking about it. Can you imagine? Just stay with me now. Can you imagine we get Virgil Hawkins, all right, who has been living a college dorm life essentially, run back into our lives with adult problems and new powers and a whole bunch of like stuff directly relating to the stuff outside of our actual window. Like we're literally going to World War III. There's a whole bunch of government conspiracies. We have demon oligarchs eating children on faraway islands. Wouldn't that make incredible stuff to talk about? You know, like the abuse of children and the mishandling of the youth that directly ties into Virgil's origin with the bang babies and the Q juice and the gas that was used to essentially monitor children where they're really just going to be used for adults to abuse as metahumans. Yeah, man. I think there's so much stuff here that we can actively make a lot of content and use out of. And look at this. Just look at this. What a great design, by the way. I love seeing Virgil kind of grown up a little bit. I love to have him, you know, actually show growth, like in a meaningful way. He's in college and he looks like he's doing well for himself, and he's going to sacrifice the easy or at least straightforward path that he had for himself to be a hero. There's great stories in that in and of itself, because to be a hero, you have to be kind of a little selfish. As selfless as you are for everyone else, you have to like sacrifice time with your friends, sacrifice an easier life to make sure things are easier for everybody else. And Virgil wasn't a dumb kid. He was always super smart. So I'm sure he was going to be an engineer or something and make a 6-figure salary and just like chill. But, you know, his nephew Beacon, Amistad, came through and said, we need more from you. And he's about to give more if this leads to something. And that's where the conversation has to shift, right? If it leads to something. I don't think DC's racist. I actually don't really care too much about the fact that we don't have a Black lead, because unfortunately, you know, we have not supported the Black books for the most part. I will say this though, if this much interest is happening with such a notable character as Static, and we see no motion, then we ought to have a different conversation about DC. Like, there are characters and there are runs that I know for a fact that isn't finna sell shit, but they keep getting books, keep giving things chances, which is fine. it looks crazy for you to do that for a million white characters and give like no black characters a chance. That is a little crazy, you know. And they try, and by the way, they tried with Milestone. I'm giving credit where credit is due. Milestone Returns, they gave a shit. They had their little DC fandom special. You know what I'm saying? They had a trailer. They rolled the red carpet out. We didn't support. Cool. Back up. All right. Cool. Been kind of like 3 years. I mean, none, zero. You couldn't extend any of the books that you gave a miniseries to. They all performed that badly. Okay, maybe they did. Maybe they did. I don't know. We can't get hard numbers out of DC or Marvel anymore. So all speculation over here. I do want to also say though, I found it very odd that Joseph Village basically said that he paid for that promo himself and DC wouldn't. I think that's crazy. If you guys watch that promo video that big Uncle Joe had to put out there to encourage us to get the Dakota Incident book, I've never heard of talent having to pay for a promo for a product for something they don't own all the way. Like distribution is through the DC company, right? Like they didn't pay for the promo for their own book. I've never heard that. I don't know. And maybe that happens more often than I'm familiar with, but that looks a little funny in the light. You know what I mean? Like, damn. And on top of that, let's talk about the whole DC Universe Infinite debacle. How the fuck did DC have the book a week early? And then, despite the fact they had it out a week early, never apologized for it, just took it back down. Now you're letting us just believe whatever we want to believe. Now it's like, oh, okay. Oh, really don't give a damn. It happens. I don't know. If I were to wear my tinfoil hat right now, I would say that you guys are trying to bring down the stock of those characters so you can buy them for the cheap. And I really don't want to believe that. I think that's nuts. I think that's super malpractice and nothing but negative press for you. But I remember when they were firing people left and right, and they were calling the DC bloodbath in 2025 or whatever, and they didn't give a shit. They didn't have a press run. They didn't say sorry for all the people we had to lay off. They kept it pushing. And DC is good because they realize, I guess, you don't have to say anything. If you just keep putting out books, eventually everyone's going to forget because they're going to have a Justice League crossover in the DC universe. I mean, in the Absolute universe, they're going to have Absolute Batman eventually fight the Joker. They're going to have the end of DC KO coming up. Like they have a whole bunch of stuff. There's going to be so much positive press that they can drown out the negative press. And we're going to buy the books. We're not going to stop buying the books, unfortunately. If the books are good, we're just going to keep pushing. So I do wish that they just say, "Hey, we messed up. Sorry about that." Don't leave it up in the air because you're making me assume the worst. Uh, Yeah, man. I want everyone to go get this book though because it's so fucking good. I really want more of this. Like, I want a hard book in the world again. Hardware is such a cool fucking character. It is such a great dissection of the angry black male and why they're angry. Totally justified reasons, by the way. What to do with that anger and how it can just be a weapon against ourselves to hurt the world. I love it. Of course, it's a cool revenge story, like shoot him up, slice him up, boom, boom, bam. I'm a dumb boy. I like shit like that. But the layers of psychology that have followed the book since its inception back in the 90s is really something to behold. I don't know. Listen, what by the way, last thing before I get out, if it goes to second print, please buy it. Don't let it just stop here. This is a good book. We all say we want this thing. They gave us a great product. We have to show support. If you don't buy the book, if you can afford it, you're not going to get more. And we can't keep having this conversation. We can't keep having this conversation. Yo, why don't we give it this? Why don't we give us that? If we don't show that we want it, we will never get it. So if you have the money, if you got the $5, throw it down for that book so we can keep getting good news. Shit. Cool? Cool. All right. That was my little yap. That was my little yap session. Like I said, look, about 25 minutes in, I couldn't take up a quarter of the podcast just talking about that. So, hope you have a great day. Happy reading. Be nice to everybody. Okay, bye.